Good evening, everyone. I'll now open the public hearing and will begin by reading. Legal notice of public hearing. The Common Council of the City of Olean, New York has scheduled a public hearing for Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers of the Olean Municipal Building. The purpose of this hearing is to receive public input on proposed local law 02-2022 to establish a civilian review board for the City of Olean. For more information or for a copy of the proposed legislation, please contact the Common Council office at 716-376-5635 or visit us www.cityofolean.org. So I want to, in full disclosure, before I invite any members of the public to approach the podium on this, it was the intention to bring forward this local law tonight. As you can see on the Committee of the Whole agenda. Upon further review, there were two small misspellings within the document. And so, unfortunately, we're going to have to do this all over again in 2 weeks. Per Municipal Home Rule Law, Article 3, Section 204, a law must be on the desk and tables or members for at least 7 calendar days, excluding Sundays. Day legislation is placed on desks and they vote in the final form prior to the vote. So when I was working with our city attorney and our secretary here, they found a typo. Insignificant as it is, it doesn't change the context of what the law states. But it was the opinion of our city attorney that that correction would have to be in its final form resubmitted to all of us, and that we're going to have to do the public hearing at our next regular meeting as well, when the vote is going to actually take place. But we could have just canceled this here tonight. We have some members from the public here, so at this time I will invite any members of the public to approach the podium, state your name, please, for the record, and I now open the public hearing.
Good evening.
If you need to move that, please feel free.
I just want to make sure that I can be heard here. I'm not sure how.
You can pull it out of the. There you go.
Can everybody hear me? Okay. Good evening, Mayor and members of the Common Council. I am Associate General Counsel. My name is Christine Caputo Granich, and I am Associate General Counsel for the New York State Law Enforcement Officers Union, Council 82. I speak tonight on behalf of the Patrol Unit and Command Unit of the Olean Police, Council 82's Locals 967P and Local 967C. First, I just want to state that Council 82 supports any measure that improves the functioning of the Olean Police Department, improves the lives of its officers, and builds bridges of trust with the public. However, Council 82 cannot support any measure that violates the rights of its members, compromises the safety of officers and the public, or presents the possibility of abuses of the law. With that in mind, I shall address the proposed local law 02-2022, which seeks to establish a civilian review board in the City of Olean. First, from a technical aspect, the proposed law is not ready for passage because, as you just heard, it does contain typos, but it also has incorrect subheadings and incorrect references. Instead of boring you all tonight with a list of some of these things, I'm happy to leave this list with you before I leave here tonight. But you should take a really hard look at what's written in this law because some of it just does not make sense, and I'll give you an example. For instance, section 3A, it says it wants to increase civilian transparency. You're not trying to increase civilian transparency. You're trying to increase oversight and general transparency. Or for example, you talk about in section 3H, which concerns the review of CRB policies and procedures. This section H has nothing to do with reviewing CRB policies and procedures. The subheading is totally wrong and it's misleading. It should say a review by the CRB of police department policies, procedures, practices, and similar matters, since that's actually what the section indicates. So those are just a couple examples, and I would ask that you take a look at this law from a technical aspect so that it states what you actually mean it to say. Other than these technical aspects, the proposed law, first of all, is way too vague. This law may have been created to be vague on purpose, but such vagueness only invites litigation. Specifically, this law does not state clearly that the CRB cannot interfere with, direct, or influence disciplinary outcomes. In fact, any reference to discipline, police discipline, in this proposed law should be completely stricken. Whether you like it or not, police discipline is controlled by the mayor and the chief of police pursuant to the city charter and the collective bargaining agreements made between the patrol unit in the city and the command unit in the city in accordance with the Taylor Law. This proposed law, however, is so vague it can be construed to permit the CRB, in its review of complaints of police misconduct, to formally comment in writing about what actions the chief of police should take regarding discipline before he takes any action. Although the proposed law indicates that the chief of police determines discipline, it appears it has given the CRB a say in discipline too. This simply cannot be allowed. Any proposed CRB law must make it patently clear that the CRB cannot involve itself in police discipline, either before, during, or after discipline is considered or rendered. Any involvement by the CRB in police discipline violates the city charter and our members' applicable collective bargaining agreements. If, as this proposed law also states, that the sole authority to discipline officers shall remain vested in the chief of police under the supervision of the mayor in accordance with the law and the applicable collective bargaining agreements, then the Common Council should have no problem creating a CRB law that does not reference discipline or makes it clear that the CRB has no involvement in police discipline at any stage. To pass this proposed law in its current vague form is simply a veiled attempt to allow the CRB to affect police discipline that cannot go unchallenged. In addition to being vague, the proposed law is also contradictory on its face. On the one hand, the CRB, per its legislative intent, is supposed to be a review board, having only the authority to review complaints and how they are addressed. However, section 3G6 refers in the vaguest of terms to actions to be taken by the CRB. What kind of action are we talking about? In addition, section 3G8 refers to serious concerns that the CRB shall seek to be remedied internally or by formal written request to the Common Council if it is not remedied internally. Taking action and seeking remedies of serious concerns are not consistent with the stated legislative intent of the CRB being a review board. In short, 3G6 and section 3G8 of this proposed law are disguised grants of power provided to this CRB to give it the opportunity to do more than just review citizen complaints of misconduct. Legislation should not be so sneaky. The residents of Olean should know exactly what their laws mean and exactly what power this Common Council is giving to others that they had no say in electing. In other parts of the proposed law, specifically section 3H, it states that this CRB will also have the authority to review all procedures, patterns, practices, and similar matters, whatever similar matters means, and make formal recommendations which the mayor must implement or justify why he cannot implement them. I presume that this authority is to review police department procedures and the like, because section 3H really doesn't say it, and it could actually be viewed to apply to all city procedures, patterns, practices, and similar matters. The CRB then has the right to make public whether their recommendations have been implemented by the mayor. I call this the shaming into action provision. However, section 2.025 of the city charter provides that the mayor shall direct and supervise all departments, offices, and agencies. It does not say that the mayor must consult with the CRB. But under this proposed local law, the mayor now answers to the CRB on how to direct and supervise. And again, I'm presuming in regards to the police department, because it's not clear. This curtails the mayor's power. In short, oversight of the police department by unelected individuals was not contemplated by the city charter. In addition to being vague, contradictory, and curtailing the mayor's power, this proposed law is also woefully deficient. Specifically, it does not provide the approved format of the application process for CRB members. It does not state who will interview applicants. It does not provide for the substantive content of training for CRB members or any requirements of completion of that training. Rather, it only states that standards of training will be provided. It does not provide for the monitoring of CRB members' conduct, including the completion of training, whether and to whom conflicts of interest are reported, defining conflicts of interest, and grounds for removal or disqualification. It does not provide for the confidentiality of investigation materials. It doesn't define investigation materials or provide whether materials should not be provided due to the safety and security reasons or because it is prohibited by law. It does not provide for CRB record storage and who has access to such records. And it does not provide for any kind of funding or budget for the CRB operations, which we all know is going to be needed. Funds for things like paper, reports, computers, and storage, which again brings up the issue of confidential information and where it is stored. Where is the information that's turned over to these CRB members going to be kept? On their personal computers? Lastly, there are two final issues we have with the proposed law. First, we don't believe that CRB members should be able to review whatever body-worn camera footage they want. They should only be allowed to review body-worn camera footage of an active complaint when it is necessary. And second, upon the review of any kind of complaint, an officer's name should always be redacted. It is the only way to ensure the objectivity of the CRB, no matter what type of complaint it is or what officer is involved. All in all, such technical and substantive defects in the proposed local law here show that this Common Council is rushing this proposed law. You have to question why. What's the hurry? Wouldn't you rather get it right? In closing, I have made these comments to you tonight not simply as a police union representative, but also as a police union representative who has been personally involved with the work of civilian police review boards for over a decade, and someone who has spent significant time seeing their inner workings and even creating a mediation program for the Albany Citizens Police Review Board to foster better relations between Albany residents and the Albany Police Department. However, I am also here as an experienced litigator, one who has successfully challenged police review board legislation. Please keep that in mind as you consider whether to pass proposed local law 02/2022 in its current form. If you do, Local 67P and Local 967C will certainly be addressing their options for challenges. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else to speak on the matter of the public hearing? Is there anyone else that would like to speak on the matter of the public hearing? Anyone else for the public hearing? Seeing no one else, at this time I will call the public hearing closed. Okay, At this time, I will call to order the Committee of the Whole for Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022. Let the record show that all aldermen are present. First on our agenda here this evening, we have a presentation from the Olean STEM School proposal. So I invite Shannon to please approach the podium and welcome, and please tell us what's going on.
That was a little intense. My name is Shannon McIntyre, and I am the public contact for, can you hear me? For Olean Academy Charter School. We are a group of teachers from the area, from the community, that have put together a school that we're looking to open. We have about 160 potential students currently, but we're not trying to solicit because we aren't even open yet. We're putting our application into the state by the end of this week. It's a long application. It's pretty laborious, actually. But I'm here just to give you guys a little bit of a background on this. So I'm really nervous. Okay, not a very good public contact. Okay, so I'm not here looking to seek a Common Council endorsement per se, but our school is a STEM charter school, and what we're hoping to do is actually bring opportunity to help the area and the community. Embedded into our curriculum, there are significant opportunities for the students to work with the different departments here in Olean, including like the Department of Public Works and things like that. What we'd like to try to do, and what we're really hoping to see happen, is the students to actually understand the value of remaining and staying in Olean, which I know has been stated a lot by different schools in different communities and areas in the community. But we actually have a curriculum that gives students the opportunity to be able to work one-to-one with people and members of the community. We have an entire outdoor education component that's wrapped up into this STEM thing. And the cool part about it is that we have about 35 affiliates right now, ranging from Canonical Farms up through to Ellicott Greens. They're looking that if this school opens, they'll donate a container garden, an outdoor container garden. Olean is not looked at really right now currently as a hub for farming. And we're not necessarily looking to try to create something that it's not per se, but what we'd like to do is bring value to the history of Olean itself and allow students the opportunity to fall in love with what it is that the area has to offer. And the Olean Historical Society and the African American Cultural and Historical Center have all endorsed us with this, and the Seneca Nation Museum is actually designing a course for our seniors to be able to take that involves kind of like this anthropological perspective of the area. So the cool part about a charter school is that we have the flexibility to be able to do that with the curriculum. And there's been a lot of questions regarding some parts that people maybe aren't so excited about. We're not looking to overtake the public school. We're not looking to try and steal students or all this, that, and the other thing. We've capped our student numbers, and we met with the superintendent of Olean Public Schools, the new one, to explain that to her. She obviously cannot publicly endorse us because that would just be kind of like a bit of a conflict. But we had a really good meeting, and the objective is really just to bring the option of choice to the community and not cause a big, huge kerfuffle. So really that's what it is that I came here today to do, is just sort of tell you guys a little bit about it. And if you do hear about it, the cool part is that we really do want to kind of like involve aspects of Olean and the Olean government that maybe get overlooked on occasion. The water, sewage, and treatment facilities and things like that. Why not have some kids? Because part of what our senior practicum involves is that students have to actually have an internship, and then they have to they have to identify a problem that exists within the community and then develop some kind of solution to it. So they would have to, in theory, be standing where I'm standing right now, eventually. And then hopefully they do a better job speaking to you guys about what it is that they've been able to identify. But that's what the hope is, those who can do, those who can't teach. So there you go. So thank you very much for your time. But yes, there you go.
Great, thank you so much, Shannon, for joining us. Just a couple simple questions before I open it up here to the council for comments or questions. So could you give us kind of an idea as far as, is this K through 12? When are you looking possibly to start? Obviously, not like 2 weeks, right? So what's your timeline look like? And I appreciated the word, the idea of giving people a choice here. So thank you for coming and so yeah, you can answer those questions.
Sure. So the way that it works is that everything that's done goes through state ed. So we are applying as a K-8 institution where we would expand 9, 10 the following year, and then 11, and then 12. And the K-8 aspect is meant to prepare the students for what it is that we have during high school that I was referring to. The application goes in this week, and then there's a capacity interview that occurs in October. So if they accept our full application, then we have this capacity interview that we have to participate in October, and if that works, then the Board of Regents would pass the approval in December, and so we would open next August is what the goal would be. But they have say over all of this, so when they look at our application, they could turn around and be like, we want you to only open K-4. They may actually look at our application, and this is what we're kind of a little bit, we're not sure. They might look at the application and be like, we want you to open 9-12 because we like that program better. So they kind of dictate. We're proposing that we start K-8 to grow, but they kind of have the say over all of it because it's going to be about 200 pages of an application. It's very detailed, and so if we are able to pass, it's because we've presented a really valid need or desire in the community.
Any comments or questions from any of the aldermen? Alderwoman McCall?
So you had mentioned that you have potentially 160 students that are interested, and you said you're going to have a cap. So what is your cap?
160.
Okay.
We stopped.
Yeah. And those are 160 in the K through 8?
Yep, that's 160 in the K through 8. There have been other people that have put forward names for the 9-12, and we will include that number in the application, but we're not campaigning for that currently. And we've stopped campaigning because we got the 160 that we needed, so there's been like Facebook campaigns and stuff, but nothing.
Okay, and one other question, these are all students from Olean?
So the way that a charter school works is that there's free busing because it goes through the district within 15 miles of the school. So we would, but we can accept anybody in New York State. So we can't accept students in Pennsylvania, but we could accept them from around the area. Oh, and I'm sorry, there's, if there's more than 20 students that apply for a specific grade level, let's just say there's 25 people or 25 students, there's a lottery process that takes place, and that is weighted. So Olean City residents would have first precedence, or not first precedence, but the way that, like percentage-wise, like the weighting. And then after Olean City, then comes the surrounding community.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Alderwoman Witt?
Thank you. I just have a couple of questions. So when you first started talking, it sounded like older kids to teach in trades and have them stay. So that part reminds me of New Visions with the medical and the others. So I get that. So the K through 8 would be just regular school classes and added in things?
I got all excited about the older stuff because you guys are, like the departments and the K-8 is agriculture based. So essentially what it is it's there's an outdoor ed incorporation into it, We're doing a lot of volunteer work with the younger kids, and so, for example, we're hoping eventually, you know, if this opens, again, I'll be standing back here again most likely, asking you guys if it's okay if we adopt a section of State Street to clean, for example, or you pick up trash and things like that. So we're trying to really give the kids a connection to the community, but actively as well, with the younger ones especially. And then grade 8 has an internship that they're doing through Cannical Farms. And the way that that's kind of partnered is that it, again, kind of involves this Olean Historical Society aspect and the history of Olean and things like that. So there's a lot of kind of like embedded aspects in the younger grades. I just kind of get excited about the older kids making a difference.
And the other question I have, where would your funding come from? Is that through the state?
Yep, so the way that it works is that parents who choose to send their kids to this school, we receive 75% of the per pupil funding of that child. That's where the funding comes from. So we're running a full program on a significantly less budget, is basically what it is.
So the parents have to pay stuff?
The parents do not pay.
Oh, so
We
that's-
haven't, nope, we haven't budgeted. It runs as a public school. We have to meet public school expectations, but we just have to do it with less money.
And where would it be located?
We haven't, we were supposed to actually have a location picked when we put our application in, but we found out that we only have to have proposed locations. We're in conversation with a couple of different people currently, so we can't really say because it's they black out stuff until it's final. But it's going to be, it would be in Olean City proper.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay.
That wasn't so bad.
Mr. Mayor, you were supposed to have the tough questions.
You did fine, you answered all my tough questions.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you, Jim. Okay, finance and bills. Any questions for finance and bills? Just bear with me one moment here. So we've all received our finance and bills packet. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, Len's, I didn't get my hard copy.
Get that for you tomorrow.
Thank you. So, no, I didn't receive it.
Okay. All right, so,
That's
we've all received PDF versions, but we can still, Dave, did you get your hard copy?
No, I did not.
Lens?
Got you.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, do we need a sponsor from committee of the whole or no? No, we just bring it up and, okay. All right, so moving along, next we've got a discussion on Marcus Park, inclusive playground, the RFP for engineering and design services. Who is this discussion?
I guess that will be,
Let me lead, let me lead.
go ahead, Mayor.
All right, Mr. Mayor's going to
Uh,
lead us all.
Robert Thompson is now pretty much up to speed on this project, and we met with Tandem, and then Robert, I met with Vernon over this project. So we're at a point now where I think we should do RFPs for engineering and design services. So we want to keep the council informed. So between Robert and Carrie, they'll be helping us to put that RFP, and once we get the RFP out there, then we'll make the selection, and then we'll come back to the council, because you'll have to fund it, so.
Anything you'd like to add over there, Robinson?
I'm excited to get this going. I've had a couple of emails and people in intent, they're ready to get things going as well. So it'd be nice to go ahead and start this process and get it going.
So the only question I would have is how this ultimately, the financing aspect works. So we've set money aside. Is the idea that for, say, consulting services, engineering design, the preliminary stuff, we would just draw from that and then work with in tandem on the larger scale funding of the actual project itself? Is that the idea? Okay. That would be my recommendation, so. That sounds good. Alderwoman Witt?
Yeah, when, the mayor met with a tandem, did they have a number that, I know they were doing a fundraiser, do they have a number that they've reached to this point?
The goal was 500,000, and I don't recall if he has a number. I know they have a significant amount of money, and they feel they will meet that goal.
Okay,
So,
I was just curious.
And was there a timeline? Are they looking for spring, next summer timeframe to?
I think that's what we are.
That's like, from conversation, that's what my interpretation is. We're looking at, spring,
Awesome.
next year. And, I was also told that they're, going to do more fundraising.
Great.
So,
Okay.
Matter of fact, they'll be having an event here in September at the JCC campus to raise more funds for this project.
That's great. That's awesome. So excited to see this come to fruition. Couldn't think of a better thing for Marcus Park. So, very good. Thank you for that update. Next we've got PL 83-22 to authorize, by Mayor Aleo, to authorize the city auditor to bond for the filtration plant wall restoration project. Mr. Mayor?
Robert, are you prepared to discuss this? Sure.
Okay, what we're looking to do, we talked before about fixing the wall and the filtration plant, we're also changing the media in the plant. And what this is simply raising the amount, we're applying for a WIA grant, if we don't get it, this allows us to still have the funding to go ahead with the project. So this, we're looking to get it fully funded, but if not, this gets us from the 1.5 up to the 4.8, so we can go ahead with the project. And that's really simply all it is.
Okay. So this commits us to moving forward with that project. Is that correct?
Yes, it would, and then we also are trying to get the grant money at the same time, because that might relieve us of this big burden. But yes,
Right.
this allows us to still go forward, because if we don't go forward, we've got serious structural issues in the wall, and we do have to change the median and filter plant also.
Okay, so the only thing is, did we know this was coming?
Yes, we discussed this, and I believe there was a comment made, we've been kicking this down the road for let's get moving. So, and that's not the exact words, but that's from memory. So.
No, I recall making that statement about this. I just didn't, I wasn't ready, I wasn't realizing that we were gonna have the full bond resolution here this evening, so that's,
We can table this until the council's ready.
what is the,
We have a number?
huh?
We have a number?
yeah.
Attached to it?
4.8 million.
Yes.
Could you, when we talked about this last time, did we have a pay schedule, like how we were going to pay for this? How do we pay for the bond for 4.8 million? How does that, what is the payment schedule on that look like? That comes, I would assume that comes out of the water fund. So what does that do? What's the annual payment on that bond?
Yeah, we don't have that. And again, we're.
So why don't we, just so, I think, I agree with you, Robert, and I'll open it up to any of the members of the council. I get it. This is something that is critical, that we have talked about for a long time. I just would like to better understand what's gonna be our annual commitment, and what does that do to our water fund projections? I guess is what I would like to see.
Okay. I don't anticipate us not getting a grant. This is really a fallback measure, but.
No, listen, I know how grants go, I get it. We were hoping for the raise grant too, but, so any other, so I'll open it up to, members of the council. Alderman Robinson.
Have we applied for a grant for this before, for this particular?
this for the wall?
Yes.
Yes, at least twice that I know.
At least, since I've been on the council, we've talked about it at least twice. So, I mean, I don't have a problem with backing this, but yeah, we want more information as to how we would go about paying this back and like John said, some type of schedule or something.
Right, when we get in, then we've got to look at what it'll do to either water rates or taxes.
Right.
So, and that's probably why we stalled, since we don't get down into the nitty gritty. Figure that out.
So I mean, but we'll be going back to, committee meetings, the beginning of September. So what I would suggest that we postpone that until then, and if we could get what the payment schedule would look like, versus, what Fred used to do, is show us, what are the outstanding bond payments that we have for, say, hitting the water fund? Are some of them falling off? What years are they falling off, right? And I would assume this is probably gonna be a 20-year, would that be right, a 20-year commitment? Okay, for something like this. So if we could just get kind of that payment schedule, I think that would help. And then, like Jason said, ultimately, are we able to absorb that annual increase into the water budget, or does that mean we have to skyrocket, water rates? So I just want to take everything into account here. Alderwoman Witt?
Yeah, and I think the one thing, if we do bond this for the water plant, that doesn't come from taxes, that's just water.
Sure.
The other thing you have to keep in mind is we haven't bonded yet for fleet, and that is coming eventually, so keep that in mind. But I just think, I want to see what our commitment is, and taking it out of the water, because if we have to raise water rates 5 or 10%, that's something that we have to seriously look at. And if there's something we can do, because as John said, grants, that's a 50-50 shot. We don't know if we're getting them or not. So I just would really like to see the numbers and what we're going to be committing to and what burden we're going to be putting on our water users.
I'll work with, Lance and Brad, with just more details on that.
Thanks.
Any other, Alderwoman McCall?
So I think, I certainly, from the time I've been on, I clearly get that this is an important project that we do need to do. My question is, I think that we've had a couple of times that we've been surprised by things that are on the agenda since I haven't been here that long. So I guess my question is, in terms of making sure that we have adequate time to kind of know what's on ahead of time, I thought there's some kind of rule about how long before something comes on the agenda for us, isn't there? Or can, anything be put on the agenda and just kind of come out to us the same day?
No, this has been on the agenda. So my understanding was, based on prior conversation, that WIA grants require us to have a resolution in place that we are essentially saying, hey, we've gone the distance, we're gonna apply for this bond. We've committed to the project. At least that's what I've experienced in the past. And then when we didn't get the grant, well, we stopped there and we didn't actually go out to bond. So I just want to make sure we have a solid understanding. Is that what we're doing this time, or are we actually committing? Yeah, if we don't get the grant, we're locked in, we're gonna go for the $4.8 million bond, and we're gonna move forward with this project. I just want to make sure that we have our ducks in a row. So that's my understanding.
If I can interject, if you look at the second page of the resolution on the regular meetings, you'll see the bond resolution was originally passed November 16th, 2021.
Yep.
At the 1.5 million, and so this is just a restated bond resolution for the additional amount. We never moved forward with the 1.5 million. We only passed in order to be able to apply for the grant.
Right. Okay, but, I've got more questions to follow up with on this, so I just, if you guys don't mind, I'd like to just postpone this, okay?
Do you need a motion?
Yeah, I'll accept the motion. All right, the motion is made to postpone to, we'll be back, let's put this on committee nights, September sixth, please. I'll go ahead and second that motion. Could I get, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried. And, we will revisit this, a little bit more information on September sixth. All right, speaking of postponing, we've got PL 89-22 by Alderman Robinson to enact a local law for the city of Olean establishing a civilian review board. I kind of gave you all the update on that. We weren't really expecting that, but I think it's better to have all our ducks in a row. So that would need to get postponed, but I will, of course, open it up to any comments or questions at this time. So we had Jack and Tiffany went through, there were a couple, you heard the comment earlier this evening, there were a couple of numbers that were off in the order of things, and there was like one misspelling that got addressed. But those changes by themselves, we want to make sure that everyone gets a final form prior to the vote. So, Alderman Witt?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. You know, we've spent months on this, and I'm kind of surprised that now this union attorney comes and gives us all this information. We had two attorneys look at this, our city attorney, our labor attorney, and to me, they should have been telling us the same thing. So I don't know why it took so long for them to come and talk to us. I'm glad they did. You know, it kind of saves us some legal issues going down the road. But I'm a little disappointed that they weren't here months ago. So, just a comment.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Alderman Robinson?
Thank you. I was gonna save some commentary, and I wanted to say a few things, because I don't mind challenging people to make them think. Alderman Witt mentioned something that I was gonna say, it was that the union lawyer and the city attorney both looked at it, and none of the things that they had mentioned that came about, so I found that interesting. And then as far as some of the details, some of those details were in there. This thing was upwards, I think, of 11 pages, and it got streamlined down to what we have now because of whatever reason. Some of these things mentioned training info, records, budget, so all that stuff was in there at one point. It was decided to purposely make it the way it is now because that stuff could be later determined. I found it interesting that training info was mentioned as a requirement for this local law, but you have things like the zoning board and the planning board where their training isn't listed word for word in their information that's presented. And then there was a slew of things, you know, I don't know if she had read an old document or not, but she said that if there was anything mentioned about discipline, then it should be removed because that interferes with the mayor and the chief in their decision making. And I found that kind of comical because she stated she was a litigation lawyer, and right in there, in the document we have, it states in there that at no time this will interfere with the chief and mayor. So I'm not a lawyer, but I mean, the wording is there. So, and then she mentioned something about officers' information being redacted, and that too is in this document. So to me, like most things, usually I don't say anything or add my 2 cents, but when I start to feel like there's bias mentioned, when someone starts to speak and they're showing their bias towards something, then that's usually when I speak up. And to me, I'm just gonna chalk that up as a bias, and it's understandable. They're there to represent their clients. I get it, I understand it. I don't believe that we're doing anything that's gonna hurt our Olean Police Department. I think it can help our Olean Police Department, and it can help our city. I would never do anything to try to hurt, you know, any else, but that's a whole nother matter, so that's all I want to add.
Okay. Anyone else?
I would just say, everything, I agree with everything Vernon's saying, I agree with everything Linda is saying. I don't understand, I mean, look, I get how you have a police union attorney come in here and basically, you know, threaten litigation on us because of, you know, this law, they don't want this. I understand that, like, that's their job, and I get it. But what I don't get is how many sets of eyes have been on this document over this past couple of months. Lawyers, union lawyers, city attorney, how do we allow these, like typos or, you know, whatever, I don't even really understand necessarily, I don't have it in front of me, but how are we doing this? How do we let this happen? I don't understand that. I'm not accusing anyone of negligence or anything like that, but like, I don't know. I'm just an idiot.
Alderwoman McCall.
I guess I'll echo what everybody else said in that respect. I think that a lot of time was spent on this. I was kind of surprised at some of the details that were determined, I believe by our attorneys, that we needed to take out that seemed to be important, that now the union attorney is saying to us should be there. You know, I think the goal of this is getting lost. This isn't to, in any way, shape or form, to put our police at a disadvantage, but rather this is a way for transparency to occur so that our residents and our police feel connected in that respect. You know, I kind of likened it to this way. If I'm driving down the expressway and there's a police car following me and I'm doing the speed limit, I should have no concerns. The same thing, if I'm following my protocol in terms of what I'm doing as a nurse, I should have no concerns in that respect. And I think that what's gotten lost is that this is really meant to help both current and down the road, right? This is also to help prevent some of the things that we've seen in other cities and towns and be ready, heaven forbid that they do happen. So I would say I too am feeling the frustration that for as long as I've been on, that this has been something that predates me, and here we are and it's August, the end of August, and we're kind of like, oh geez, there's still stuff that's not done or unacceptable. And I would challenge her comment that this was meant to curtail the mayor's power. In my perception, I think that was a bit of bait thrown out there, because I don't think that that's it at all. I think that the mayor is confident in his power and understands that this is in no way meant to curtail it.
Well, and by that logic, isn't the planning board, doesn't that curtail the mayor's power? I mean, those people weren't elected by the general
Right.
Population to serve on those boards, yet there they are, making decisions and wielding power. I don't know, it just seems. Tell me I'm wrong, explain to me how I'm wrong if that's not the case, but.
Yeah. John, can I just say one more thing?
Sure.
You know, I don't mind criticism, and I don't mind someone coming and pointing out, because we're only human. We do what we're told by our attorney, the labor attorney, and Vern made a good point. There was stuff in there we took out that now we have to put back in. But what really was a little insulting is the wording she used, sneaky, shaming into action. I'm sorry, but as soon as she said those words, I was done. And I think anytime we're here in good faith, and we're here representing our constituents, and I do have people that think, you know, there's lack of oversight, not just in the police department, but everywhere. But our job is to do the best we can do, and we listen to our attorneys, Joe Braccio, Jack, and I was fine with the criticism, but as soon as she thinks she's gonna intimidate us by using certain words, that's when my listening stopped. That was
it sounded like she was threatening us, and that's what we pay our attorneys for, so they're saying this is legal, so I would believe our attorneys over her.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so again, would entertain a motion to postpone this to the next regular meeting. I believe the latest draft has been posted now with those spelling corrections. Motion is made by Alderman Robinson and seconded by Alderman Witt. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And is referred to the regular meeting Tuesday, September 13th, 2022. All right, PL 91-22 by Mayor Elio, that the project loan committee recommends that the city subordinate its lien position for Olean Homeownership Assistance Program application 174-04. Mr. Mayor?
Cindy Carey will speak on this.
Last Wednesday, the project loan committee reviewed the request by the participant. She participated in the 2004 program. Ultimately, this would be a financial gain for her. Her consolidation of was actually an improvement loan to her house and her mortgage. It would ultimately reduce her monthly payment. She's able to do this refinance, and it would be quite beneficial to her and her financial situation. And the project loan committee recommends that approval.
Okay, any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain a sponsor.
I'll sponsor.
Sponsor is made by Alderman Robinson,
I'll second.
second by Alderman Gonzalez. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried and is referred to tonight's regular meeting. Next, we have PL 92-22 by Mayor Elio to approve the following Boost Business Grant Program real estate assistance applications for financial assistance as recommended by the Boost Business Grant Program Committee, BBGP 35-22 in an amount not to exceed $5,000, BBGP 36-22 in an amount not to exceed $5,000, and BBGP 38-22 in an amount not to exceed $5,000. Ms. Carey?
Again, the BBGP committee met, reviewed a few applications. One was tabled, so that may eventually be forthcoming for additional information. Two of the businesses that were approved are renters on North Union Street. The third is a renter on West State Street. One business has been in operation in our area for approximately 1 year. The other two are established businesses.
Great. Okay, again, putting that money to work in our downtown, helping our businesses. Awesome. I'll entertain any comments or questions? Alderwoman McCall.
So again, I just want to say how important this program has been, and from reading the applications, it's really clear that a number of our businesses, long established and new ones, have really are really continuing to clean up after COVID. And I think that this, it's not going to pay their full rent, but I think that it really shows them that we're invested in them, and I think that's really important at a time when I think small businesses are not necessarily feeling the love in a lot of ways. And we do still have money in the rental assistance program. And so, I think our goal was to see if we could bring some new businesses, and we have a couple. But it's very clear that some of our established businesses, this really helps them out. And so if we have other established businesses that would benefit, that have, they had to close down because of COVID. I mean, people were very creative in what they tried to do to stay afloat during COVID, but every one of these businesses really had a loss during that time. And so I think whatever we do to kind of encourage people to continue to utilize we have a lot of really good businesses in the area, a lot of small locally owned ones. But also if there are others that are still hurting, and I think what we found is that some were hesitant to come forward. They've never asked for help. They don't necessarily want to ask for help, but they're struggling a little. So if you know of any, send them here as well.
Yes, the next application deadline is the second Friday in September. We thought we were going to be able to commit and or expend the funds, by August. We weren't, so the mayor's office, did indeed, do a press release advising of the additional, round for the deadline.
Great. Yeah, you know, Sonia, you said it really well, because we see all the beautiful, the beautification going on up and down North Union Street, all the money that's being put into new sidewalk blocks and fire pits and things like that. And hopefully long-term, that helps businesses, sustainability. But coming out of COVID, they're barely making ends meet. Many of them have back rent that they owe, that they're trying to catch up on. And so, helping them keep their doors open for the next, 12 to 24 months through this program is critical. Because as much as we want to bring in new businesses, we sure as hell want to keep the ones we have. So, Alderwoman Witt.
Yeah, I just would like to thank the government for handing out the ARPA funds, because without them, we wouldn't be able to help. And I think that needs to be said loud and clear, that we need to thank them. And we do appreciate the help, but also our businesses. I know a lot of people that, restaurants, they just had carry out, and they just really tried to keep them going. And I think that's what community does for each other, so I think that helped.
Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a sponsor.
Co-sponsor.
All right, Alderwoman McCall. And
I'll second.
I think I heard Alderman Anastasia, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I will abstain for my association with the Small Business Development Center. All right, that is going to be referred here for tonight. I'll make a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderwoman McCall. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned, and I will go ahead and call to order the regular meeting of the Common Council for Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022. Will the clerk please call the attendance roll?
Alderman Witt,
Here.
Alderman Canis.
Here.
Alderman Gonzalez.
Present.
Alderwoman McCall,
Here.
Alderman Robinson,
Here.
Alderman Anastasia. Here. And President Crawford.
Here. Please rise for the invocation and the pledge.
Lord, we are meeting today to conduct matters of business, guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Reading, correcting, and approval of the minutes of the previous regular meeting.
The regular meeting of the Olean Common Council was held on Tuesday, August 9, 2022 at 6:45 p.m. Present were Alderman Crawford, Witt, Canis, Gonzalez, McCall, Robinson, and Anastasia. None were absent.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous regular meeting. Could I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Robinson. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Committee reports and unfinished council business.
None.
Communications from the mayor.
None.
Miscellaneous communications.
None.
City official reports.
None.
Proposed, well, Frank, what do you have? Man. Doing all the work here, Frank, come on. All right, proposed legislation and referrals.
PL number 91-22 by Mayor Halio, referred to Committee of the Whole Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022 by Council President. PL number 92-22 by Mayor Halio, referred to Committee of the Whole Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022 by Council President.
Okay, before I open it up to public comment, we'll give an opportunity to any of the aldermen to make a statement at this time. Alderwoman Witt.
Yes. I just want to say, and I don't think you say it enough, but, you know, with the discussion tonight, I just want to make sure that our police, our fire people, our DPW workers, all of our staff and all the people that do jobs that nobody else wants to do, that we do respect them and we value them. And I think we need to work together. And, you know, this is one example where we're starting to kind of pull at each other. We shouldn't be doing that because ultimately the decision we make is for the best for our community and that's our job. And we're not here to condemn anyone or to point fingers. We're just here to do the best job we can. I just wanted to make that clear.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay. At this moment, I will ask the clerk to please read the public comment statement.
Public comment portion of the common council regular meeting is established to provide members of the community with the opportunity to publicly state their views, voice their concerns, or to provide input pertaining to any issue affecting city government. Additionally, the mayor, common council members, and city department heads encourage any person with questions to contact them at their offices.
All right, at this time, I will open up to any members of the public. Please approach the podium, state your name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes. Anyone? Anyone at all? Anyone? All right, at this time, I will call public comment closed. On the finance and bills.
The auditor has processed bills and claims against the city of Olean as per list submitted to each alderman and recommends payment thereof. Whereas the auditor has presented to the common council bills and claims against the city of Olean totaling $2,182,099.23 for the budget and recommends payment thereof. Now therefore be it resolved that the same be and are hereby audited and allowed, and the auditor is hereby authorized and directed to draw warrants for the payment thereof at the amount set opposite each respective claim.
Okay. We discussed this in committee of the whole. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Witt,
Yes, I still have to look at it.
Did we get sponsors? Committee?
Oh, that's right. I apologize.
Yeah.
I apologize. I'll go ahead and make a motion. Could I get a second, please?
Sorry.
All right, seconded by Alderman Panis. Now, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Witt,
Yes.
Alderman Panis,
Yes.
Alderman Gonzalez.
Yes.
Alderwoman McCall,
Yes.
Alderman Robinson,
Yes.
Alderman Anastasia.
Yes.
President Crawford.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7 ayes unanimously.
Okay.
Resolution number 8822, PL number 8322 has been postponed. Resolution number 8822, PL number 8422, to designate North Union Street from its intersection with Main Street to its intersection with Franklin Street, a bike boulevard, and to amend section 24-81, subsection C of the City of Olean Code of Ordinances to designate the speed limit of this street to be 25 miles per hour.
All right. So this one was talked about in committee as the North Union, I should say the Main Street. Wait a minute. It is North Union Street, yeah. North Union Street repaving project there has been finished up. And Alderman Anastasia came to me and said, you know, this might be an opportunity. I think the council was all on board. I'm thrilled to see another bike boulevard strategically placed in our city. I think it accomplishes ultimately what the residents want, is people to slow down, and encourages, you know, residents as well as families to get out on their bikes. or scooters and ride safely in the street. Any comments or questions? Alderman Anastasia.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, John. This has been talked about in committee, so I won't elaborate on it, but I'd like to be a sponsor of the resolution. And after talking to several of the neighbors down there, they can't wait for the striping to take place and the speed limit signs to be posted. And I think it's going to be a great improvement and goes along with what we're doing in the rest of the city. So thank you.
Yeah, great job, Ed. Alderwoman Witt.
Yes, thank you. I talked to Chief Richardson before the meeting. One of my constituents asked me what the difference was between a bike boulevard and bike lanes. And I told him I would check, so Chief Richardson's gonna look into it. My question was, or his question was, the liability or the rules. Now, the bike boulevard, people just ride with the flow of traffic. There's no designated lane.
You share the road.
And that's basically what we do now. So, I would suggest, and I don't mind putting it in as a resolution, that all of our long streets, like for instance, Main Street, Front Street, some of the Henley, some of the really long streets, that we look into doing this because I have lots of folks riding their bikes and I see folks on Henley and other streets riding. So maybe this is something we should start routinely doing. The other question with this proposed legislation is the 25 miles an hour. And it was interesting to see the email that was shared about the NICOM, basically saying cities and villages can lower their speed to 25. And is that something that we want to do throughout the city, or are we just going to kind of do it street by street?
Okay.
That's my question.
Is that a statement or a question for response right now?
No,
It's a loaded question.
I know. You know me, chatty Cathy. I'm fine with Boulevard, have no question, but the 25 miles per hour, are we gonna do it street by street, or are we gonna do it?
So I think that would be a great item to add as a discussion item, right, for a committee, for next committee night or something like that, right? It'll give everyone some time to think about it. Personally, I don't know, I don't know, but that'll take us kind of into a different direction. I think that's a great topic. That's something we've talked about before. Do we just do 25 all over the city? Or do we keep just designated, like these bike boulevards, 25? So maybe we could get that, Tiffany, what do you think? All right, is it an agenda discussion item?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know what, I've talked to Alderman Anastasia, and he's right. As soon as we pave these streets, people, they just fly. You know, we saw it on Prospect, we've seen it on other long streets, because there's no stopping point. We tried putting a stop sign on Prospect. Some people stop, some people don't. So, and I think at a certain point, even if we were to put the 25 miles per hour in, it's all about, are we gonna enforce it? You know, so I think, I just don't wanna do something that's on paper, but it doesn't make any difference.
Since, you know, honestly, since doing the bike boulevard, doing the speed change, the marking, share the road, and so on, down Washington Street, I've also seen a decent amount of patrolling. Now we do tend to have maybe some stop signs every couple blocks or so, but I think people have really slowed down. Not only is it a lot more enjoyable to go out with your family and go ride your bike down to the trail, but I think people are more aware, and that's ultimately what the bike boulevard is. It's just increasing driver awareness, right? That like, hey, families are out here. It's not some sort of magical power. It's just that increased awareness. So, yeah, let's have a further discussion on that.
Sure. I'd just like to add too, we're setting us up here, we're all responsible for our respective words. But to give the chief credit, I did have several complaints about speed, and the chief has always sent somebody down or had some speed enforcement there. And right now on River Street, we're getting the same complaint with speeders, and he's got whatever that's called, that speedometer thing down there and recording the speed. So, I mean, if you talk to the chief about speeding in certain areas, at least he's responsible with me, and I'd like to thank the police department for their efforts.
Oh, and he's been responsible with me too, especially Main Street, because we have a school there now. So those are just a couple of questions, and I'll put them on for the next committee meeting.
Great. All right. Anything else on this one? All right. So we've got Alderman Anastasia sponsoring, and I'd like to second that. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Witt,
Yes.
Alderman Panis,
Yes.
Alderman Gonzalez.
Yes.
Alderwoman McCall,
Yes.
Alderman Robinson,
Absolutely, yes.
Alderman Anastasia,
Yes.
and President Crawford.
Yes.
Resolution passes unanimously. Resolution number 89-22, PL number 81-22, by Alderman Robinson, seconded by Alderman Gonzalez. That the project loan committee recommends that the city subordinate its lien position for Olean Home Ownership Assistance Program number 174-04.
All right, just got done talking about this one. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Witt,
Yes.
Alderman Panis,
Yes.
Alderman Gonzalez.
Yes.
Alderwoman McCall,
Yes.
Alderman Robinson,
Yes.
Alderman Anastasia,
Yes.
and President Crawford.
Yes.
7 ayes, passes unanimous. Resolution number 90-22, PL number 92-22, by Alderwoman McCall, seconded by Alderman Anastasia. Resolution to approve Bruce Business Grant Real Estate Assistance Program applications for financial assistance.
All right, talked about this one. Any comments? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderwoman Witt,
Yes.
Alderman Panis,
Yes.
Alderman Gonzalez.
Yes.
Alderwoman McCall,
Yes.
Alderman Robinson,
Yes.
Alderman Anastasia,
Yes.
and President Crawford.
Yes.
7 ayes.
Sorry, I abstain.
Sorry.
Brain lapse there. I abstain for my affiliation with the Small Business Development Center.
Resolution passes 6 yes, 1 abstention.
All right, anything before we adjourn? Alderwoman Witt?
Yes, is it possible to go into executive session just to get an update on the personnel issue
Okay.
as far as the contract?
I don't have a problem. I'll make a motion to enter executive session to discuss ongoing negotiations. Do I get a second? Seconded by Alderwoman McCall. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We are in executive session.